Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another live edition here on the Rock Pile here. The Rock Pile brings you Inside Utica University Football Podcast, episode number 9 here tonight on the Rock Pile. If you're tuning in across all social media platforms, wherever you watch the shows, make sure you hit subscribe, put in some comments. It's always nice to go back and look through and see some of the comments that everybody posts for us. We'll bring Coach Faz on here in just a moment. We're going to talk last week's game against Alfred. We'll preview this coming week's game against St. John Fisher. We'll go through some of Coach's picks. He's one up on me to coming into this week. I got some big games, so hopefully we'll disagree on some picks. We'll get into some of those, and I'll ask Coach maybe some more coaching topics here going on across the national scene, that and much more. So without further ado, let's pull Coach on now. Let me fix us, Coach. Get us on here. How are we doing tonight?
Episode 9 to tell you the season goes quick, huh, Rock?
Isn't it crazy? I know I said to you last week, I said, geez, can you believe that we're down to 3 games left? 2 after this week for you.
Yeah, crazy. Goes fast.
Man. So, Coach, you had the bye week. We talked a little bit about, the bye week for you and, all the preparation. You guys got off to a really good start this past week against Alfred.
I think it was just really critical that we come out and the guys were able to do that. So we're a big defer team, and Alfred wins the toss, they defer, and first drive offense goes down the field. We decide to kick a field goal, get some points on the board, and that's wild. And I might be a little bit off here, but then we had. Maybe I'm off on that, but we had a field goal early, and then we maybe the field goal came off the tip pass. For their first offensive play, Mason Ranowitz tips a pass, Eli Douglas interception. So that's a great way to kind of start the game. And then I'm trying to remember whether we had points on that. I think maybe that's where we got the field goal. And then it's so funny. I'm so focused on Fisher right now to go back.
Well, Coach, you guys got off.
Sometimes we came out firing on all cylinders. So it was a really good way to come out of the bye. We like traveling overnight. We've got this Italian family that caters our dinner in a VFW. That's kind of our style. And I just had a really good trip overall.
Yeah, and Coach, you guys really, from a statistical category, I mean, you guys had 30 points in just the first half, but you guys had over 500 yards of offense. You held Alfred to, I think, just a tad over 200, like 201, 202. You held their ground game under 100 yards. I think they had 55 yards rushing. So you guys dominated just about every statistical comment out there. And then time of possession, I think you guys were over 35 minutes that you guys had the ball. So
we did. We actually had 11, almost 12 more minutes than they did. It's just huge. So in all those categories, from the third downs to time of possession, we were successful. Again, the guys are just bought into the game plan. I think one of the things that was, we haven't done in a bit, we scored on defense, which was huge. Mason Payton, comes, boom, punches the ball out. Mason was scary. We have a lot of Masons in the team. We laugh about it. Picks it up, rambles in for our first defensive score. But it was nice that every time we had a turnover, offense, capitalized on that. And you can see those in the games. You go back to W&J at RPI, Alfred State, some of these other big games, other games that we won. We were able to do that. We create some turnovers, give our offense the opportunity. And we always talk on defense. It's always our job to give the ball back to the offense. And I think it's really difficult to keep any college football team under 300 yards.
Yeah.
Let alone a tough, well-coached Alfred team at their place. I talk about that all the time. They have a lot of history, a lot of tradition, very well-coached team. And, I tell you what, from an offensive standpoint, our offensive line played very well. We had multiple rushing touchdowns. Eze averaged over 5 yards a carry. Frazier, our running back, and he had a touchdown. Janai Strong had a touchdown. We had a tush-push touchdown, our first one of the year. With Tyler Zolkowski, if you were watching online, we had a Raven package. And then Tyler in the pocket. We did a really nice job picking up their pressures, staying in the pocket, delivering the ball downfield. Logan Frederick had another huge day. I guess across the country, people aren't using the tight ends in Division III. Very fortunate. He had a second D3football.com player of the. That's our 5th honor of that this year. So, I give credit to our SID, just giving them the information, our players, to putting out those types of statistics, then you can see where our guys match up across the country. So, Logan Frederick, a local guy in Little Falls. So again, he had another big game as well.
Coach, how much is that? I feel like we talked a little bit about. I think it was the homecoming game when you introduced this Raven package. You guys have had, and you guys have been using it here over the last couple of weeks. But I feel like the run game itself has picked up over the last 2 to 3 weeks. And I know you mentioned, Frazier had over 5 yards a carry. I think he ended with just under 100 yards on 17 carries. But I feel like the run game's gotten better each week for you guys.
Well, it has, and I think, there's times to RPO and there's times to call a run. You know what I mean? I think we've done a good job of balancing that. The RPO certainly keeps defenses off balance. The quarterback's reading a defender and the run pass option. And then sometimes you gotta hand the thing off and get yourself in good positions and good numbers in the blocking schemes. And I think we do a good job of a variety of formations. I think that's one thing that's challenging when you're playing us is we do run a ton of formations and trying to find the advantage in the numbers in that, you know what I mean, and seeing how teams align. But loved our physicality. Wasn't happy with our penalties, to go right to that. Like, oh man, I wasn't really happy with the penalties. That's really kind of created some momentum for Alfred, and gave them some momentum, got a little hairy there for a second. But we battled back and kept control of the game, which I was proud of. Our guys really enjoy playing together, and they really haven't gotten flustered. You know what I mean? And they understand the other team's playing too, and the other team prepares too, and they're going to make some plays. But to have we had 2 sacks, all the 3 interceptions that scored on defense, the pass breakups, like Coach J Max got them flying around, and they're playing well as a unit.
And Coach, going back to that Raven package too, for you guys, you were in the red zone. I think it was 6 times you scored on all 6 red zone trips. But again, I feel like that Raven package makes it even tougher to defend. How much does that help you guys for these teams putting the pressure on that? Now they got to defend the quarterback run as well for you guys in the red zone.
I mean, that's huge. And I think as the season's gone on, we've kind of expanded on that package. So it's not just the same, kind of same base 3 plays. We mix it up and, trying to keep the defenses honest, and now Alfred actually first time I think all year, Alfred actually stuffed us on one, on a 4th and 1. I mean, Tyler makes a great play. We had I think it was like maybe 4th and 10. We were going to quick kick. There was enough time on the clock, so we tried to get him to jump, and Tyler went back up and we had time to do it a second time, and actually got them to jump a second time. And no, I think it was 4th and 6 because it got to 4th and 2 or whatever it was, or 4th and 7. And actually Alfred stuffed us on one. So that's firstly, you guys have a lot of confidence in that package, our offensive line, the tight ends, those guys. So that's certainly been a big positive for us when you have to get some yards, be able to put those big guys in there and let them have it. And you pick up the quarterback as a digit, and the running back as a blocker for him is big.
And Coach, you mentioned Tyler. Tyler had another game where he threw for over 300 yards for you guys, and he's been accurate all year. But 4th game of the season, he's thrown for over 300 yards for you guys. Leads the league in passing touchdowns.
I know at one point, I don't know where we are now. At one point, I thought we were in the top in the country, maybe even top 5 in the country at one point. I think at one point I saw us at 2nd, but that was before the Morrisville game, so we ran the ball a lot more. But as the year goes on, all those, the stats, you start to see them. And, the kids all know, like we try to, that's all great. It's great, being able to represent the university at a national level, but really we just got to focus on the game. It's crazy. You don't get to enjoy the wins long. You want to enjoy them. It's hard to win a college football game, but you don't get to enjoy them long, and it's right back to work again,
And Coach, you mentioned the defense, the secondary with 3 interceptions, Mason, John, and then Eli had interception for you guys. But you guys held their quarterback, Chris Kelly, who came in the game averaging over 179 yards passing. You held him to 23 yards passing and had the 3 interceptions. That secondary was flying around. They've been flying around for you all season, that back end.
The secondary played very well. We definitely had pressure on him. He was hard to sack because they do a nice job of getting rid of the ball pretty quickly. But our D line was physical up front. Our linebackers played well. The guys were hungry. They came out of that bye rested and hungry, knowing that hey, there's some things out there for us in this season, and every win or every game and every win gets us closer to some of those goals that we have.
And Coach, we talked last week is the last 3 games for this schedule, the next 2 out of 3 games for you guys against some really good. I know every week's a tough week. I'm not overlooking Hartwick, but I'm looking at the schedule. You get Fisher, who we'll talk about here in a few minutes, and then you go Hartwick at home, and then your last game of the season, I think you guys go to Brockport. It's right at the top of the conference as well. So you guys next 2 out of 3 weeks, tough games ahead.
I mean, it'll certainly be interesting because Brockport's playing Cortland next week, right? So we'll know the result of that before we play Brockport. Cortland plays Ithaca in their last week of the season. So it's going to be right down to the wire to see what's in store for the Pioneers, and obviously Fisher is a good rival for sure. Coach Raby's done a really good job there getting that program going. They're real excited out there, and they should be. Putting together a staff and recruiting, and they've done a nice job. And then Hartwick, it's kind of funny. It's always hard to look at scores, but they were, it was a third quarter with Fisher. I think it was 21-21. Hartwick's battling, at their place. So it's, these Empire 8 games are tough, man. It's like whoever survives it when it's all done, when all the smoke clears and the season's done, who's going to win the conference, who will finish second, is there a team that could get an at-large bid in the tournament? All things that you won't know until 5 o'clock on Saturday of the last week of the season.
Coach, I feel like I know you talked about this conference, and we've talked about it at depth here throughout the football season. But this conference to try to get 2 teams in, I almost feel like 9 wins may get you a chance to get there.
9 wins. I think 9 wins almost guarantees you a chance with the way the setup is, and then it's like, can an 8-2 team get in?
Right.
Maybe depends on how the NPI and I tell you, I've just stayed away from looking at it. Right. I just know, because I know that each week how much it can change, so this week, right. Fisher, Utica, both playing a really good team. Our NPIs are going to change after we play each other. Right. Just like our NPI is going to change after Hartwick, and then it's going to change again after Brockport, and I think at the very end, and NPI, if you're familiar with it, they take the 5 top teams when they look at that. So the other teams you play, may have a team that doesn't have a win, very, very few wins or whatever, may hurt your NPI. They don't. They take the top 5 teams that you played. And we all know that we've got some good ones in there with the, RPI and WJ early on in the year, so it's, we can talk about it on the show, for the fans and the parents and for our alumni that are watching. No, we're not talking about that with the kids, and the kids know it's out there, and they've done a really good job of staying focused and going 1-0, and they go 1-0. So, and that's not easy to do, particularly in social media at times.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really easy to, it's start talking about, if this and if that and NPI and could we get in the tournament? Like, that doesn't mean anything if we can't win, Saturday, right? And that's the most important thing.
Hey, Coach, St. John Fisher as well as anybody. You got some history with Fisher there, and here they come in and they're sitting at 5-2, 3-1. Same with you in conference play here. Played Rochester really well. They dropped to Rochester. They fell to Cortland. They had the big win against Brockport. I think that game was in overtime. They beat Brockport. So I know Fisher pretty well, right? You got some history there.
I was there 9 years. I had a great run. I think the world of Coach Vosberg, and was happy to see Coach Raby get that job. Quality person, class act, and put together a nice staff. Got a couple Cortland guys on there. Their offensive line coach, Coach Segala, their offensive coordinator, and they've done a nice job. You can see it right away. They're better than they were a year ago. Very well coached, playing really sound defense, and can put some pressure on you. And just the disguise of where that third safety is going to be. He did the same thing at Morrisville. And when he was at Morrisville, Coach Raby beat Brockport a couple of times. Seemed to kind of have their number a little bit. But it's a game that we're excited about. Right? Again, we lose to Hobart, they lost to U of R. We both lost to Cortland. Kind of looking at that, saying, okay, they had the big win against Brockport, so all the paper, pretty evenly matched teams in a big game at Gaetano Stadium, and so certainly, looking at them, that Their quarterback always is, he can throw the ball and run the ball. So
Mhm.
that dual threat quarterback, 100%. The running back, number 5, had a huge breakout game against Cortland, rushed for well over 100 yards, maybe 120 or more. And they have some very good receivers as well. So like they, definitely one of the better teams in the M8 this year, and have some really good skill players.
Yeah, and the backs have gotten a lot of carries this year. I think it's the Hall kid, Deontay Hall, has got over close to 90 carries on the season, and I think the other senior, Chance, has over 70-something. So it looks like they got 2 or 3 guys that get a lot of carries, so it looks like they wanna count, but like you said, their quarterback, who's a junior, looks like, he's completing well his balls, and they try to mix it up.
100%. A quarterback. Again, anytime you have a quarterback run, or you have a quarterback that can get out of the pocket and do things with his feet, that's always a tough to defend. And Mason Lister's a very good football player, and they've done a good job with him. And it's gonna be a real good ball game on Saturday. They Chance had his best game of the year against Cortland, right? So he's real confident at the running back position. He got the bulk of the carries in this last game, and they got a couple of veteran offensive linemen, their center, their left tackle, and a lot of people are excited about this. And it looks like we're gonna have decent weather now. It might be a little windy, but when is it not windy in the Mohawk Valley, right? So we've got this Saturday is our Mohawk Valley Challengers Day. It's sponsored by Human Technologies. Just take a minute and talk about the challengers, if you don't mind. They have 40, I think it's 42 athletes that play flag football from the ages of 8 to 25, and they're special needs athletes. And it's just an amazing organization, and we've gotten to know them very well. We play some flag games with them and put them through drills at least once a year. During our bye week, that was one of the things we did during our bye week, because the challengers came out, and we put them through some drills, and we had some flag football, and it was just a great atmosphere. In addition to that, it's our PPMD for Parent Project Muscular Dystrophy, and we have John Piazzatino, who's gotten very close to our program, has been out to our stadium multiple times, and is the oldest living survivor of Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And is outstanding young man. Has been to like Congress, helped pass laws and studies in medicine and therapies. And he talks to the guy who's at practice Friday night, and he always laughs about his spaceship wheelchair that he has. It's pretty amazing. and he always makes the guys laugh and makes them appreciate, some of the things that they have, and that John doesn't. But John is witty and smart, and is really an uncommon young man. So we're excited to have him. His mom will bring him out, and there'll be a practice on Friday night, and he's going to be out there for the coin toss Saturday. So, back to Gaetano and giving back to the community this weekend.
And Coach, you actually stole some of my thunder here, because I wanted to talk a little bit about the community service, because obviously I follow you guys on social media, and even in the community, sometimes out and about, I see a lot of UC football guys, giving back, which I think is awesome. I know you're really big on that.
Our game day atmosphere is pretty special, and some of the teams we play might have big stadiums, but they're not always full. So do we have the biggest stadium? No, but our stadium's always full, and it's full of not just our parents, not just our students or our faculty, but just people from the community that want to come out and support Utica football. And it's something I learned a long time ago from Doc Spartano and Gary Heenan and the Utica Athletics, and to get out in the community and do community service, and just what the athletes learn from that. You know what I mean? And really, I never had done a lot of community service personally until I came to Utica and became our head coach. And so that's something that the guys see me do. They're out in the community doing it. And that's why we have such a great atmosphere, and when they're out and about, they're very welcome in the community, man. If they're out in the pizza places, they're out in the restaurants, they're out in the grocery store, and they have their gear on, and they wear that Utica very proudly. People are asking them, and how's the season, and what are things looking like? And it's a fun place to play college football. We have it's a small college, but we have a big time feel.
Well, I was just going to say, Coach, I mean, your game day atmospheres are, I'd put you up against anybody out there as far as it's loud. The stands are full, but you got people lined up around the fences, which is awesome. Everybody's engaged. I mean, like you said, the stadium might not be huge, and some of those big stadiums are big, but they're empty. You come to one of your games, they may not be as big, but man, it's a great atmosphere for a college football game at any level.
We dream about making it maybe a little bit bigger, the stadium. I think we could fill it, but the tailgating, just credit to our parents, and they have a lot of fun too, and just like our players, these parents are coming from all over, and some are flying in from Florida, or they're driving up from New Jersey or Long Island or Buffalo, or even like our local parents are very proud to teach, the Albany families and Long Island families about tomato pie and chicken rigs, right? So it really has become an atmosphere we're pretty excited about out there at the 12th man. And when recruits come, we've had a lot of recruits at our home games, and they park right in the tailgate. They have a great time, and they can kind of catch that vibe of that family atmosphere that we're fortunate to have.
And I'll tell you, that homecoming crowd, man, that tailgating was crazy for homecoming. It took me a while to walk through there. Everywhere I was turning, I was running into somebody, but that thing was rocking over there for the tailgating.
That was a good time, and it was a good time. And again, I think, you talk about, family, and anytime you talk about family, at least how I grew up, there's always food around, right?
Yep.
And being able to have that and that fellowship, and that's something that we're proud to have. And our guys, whether their parents make it to the game or not, they can go to the tailgate after the game. You know what I mean? And be welcomed in by the parents, and they do a great job for that. And then they were tailgating after JV games as always. So we had a bunch of we have 7 JV games this year, which was great. A bunch of them were home, and they were tailgating on Sundays as well. So literally some weekends we had a whole weekend of just Utica football between Saturday and Sunday, which was a lot of fun.
So, Coach, for this week, couple keys of the game for you guys to walk out of with a win.
Again, limit those explosive plays. You know what I mean? They've got some very good receivers, running backs. The running back, broke off some huge runs against Cortland. Again, that was a really close football game for quite a while. I'm sure people they're looking at that film and think a pretty equal matchup going into Saturday. We played Cortland pretty tough as well. Again, I think their quarterback too. I think being like best we can keep him in the pocket, because he's dangerous when he gets out of the pocket. So, and then offensively, again, I think just continuing to be balanced, you know what I mean? And not, doing too much of any one thing. I think that keeps defenses a little bit in check when they have to defend the run and pass in every down. And I think winning on first down is big, you know what I mean? Not being in third and long too much. I think that can be tough, particularly versus the teams that play a 3 high safety look and the disguise that they have. And then it's always the hidden yardage on the special teams, and those penalties. We need to get them back. We had a couple of weeks where we had 3 or 4 penalties. That was it. So we got to get back to that. You know what I mean? And because you're going to have a few, but we need to get away from. We had 12 this past weekend, which is unacceptable. And in those big games, that's where the hidden yardage is in the field position. And you give any good team excellent field position, their chances of scoring go way up.
Yeah.
Right. So we got to make sure we don't do that.
So, Coach, I got to put up on here, you are 23-17, and I am 22-18. I'm not doing very well. I thought I would have did a lot better than this with picks, since I'm the one that follows just about every college football.
When I tell you I don't pay attention at all, I'm going all just off.
So it doesn't make me feel good. And some of my buddies have messaged me said, "Hey, you can't let Coach Foz beat you in these picks. He doesn't even watch a lot of college football during the season. He's got
even on the bye week. I'm not watching football. I was out in roster hunting with my dad for a day or two for the guys that know me. So I'm not watching.
And I'm up watching Hawaii versus Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, or whoever late at night that nobody's watching. But some decent games this week, Coach. This game, Penn State is going to play at Ohio State. And I think if anybody would have said that Ohio State would be a 20.5-point favorite before the year started, I think people would say you're crazy, because this line is huge. And obviously we know what happened with Penn State, who, by the way, I just heard that I think James Franklin might be named the head coach at Virginia Tech.
Really?
Which I think is a good spot for him. I think with the ACC down, I think he can win there. But Penn State, Ohio State, Coach, any chance Penn State goes in and pulls a stunner against the Buckeyes?
No, Ohio State's really good right now. Going Buckeyes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I got
to try to gain some ground on here.
There's a couple I think we're gonna go the other way on. Vandy, you and I both had Vandy against LSU. No, actually, you and I both had LSU. I think that was the loss that we both had. 'Cause I think we both picked LSU.
This will be interesting one
This
right
will
here.
be a good game. Hard to really. I don't know if Arch Manning is playing. He was in concussion protocol. Some rumors went back and forth on Steve Sarkisian. Said he had interest in the NFL. Then he said he didn't. Vandy had the big win over LSU. Who, by the way, Brian Kelly was fired at LSU. So Vandy at Texas. Texas is actually favored by 1.5 at home. Who you like?
This is a tough one. I'm gonna go heartstrings and go Vandy here.
I'm with you. I like Vandy. I think they're playing really. I love the quarterback. He reminds me of Johnny Manziel. He's a winner. And that coach has done a phenomenal. That's his alma mater too at Vandy.
Yeah, that's a big win beating LSU. So they're definitely confident. And that confidence is such a big thing.
This is another game because I love Josh Heupel. I think he's done a fantastic job at Tennessee. Oklahoma's coming off the loss to Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. Oklahoma at Tennessee. Tennessee's actually favored by 2.5 at home. Offense against defense. Venables the defensive guy and Josh Heupel the offensive guy. Who you like?
Oh, this one's tough. I'm going to go with Tennessee.
Yeah. I'm with you. I like Tennessee. I'm just not sold on Oklahoma. I think their quarterback, John Mateer's, kind of struggled since he's been hurt and came back. They just haven't looked the same. And people are saying that if Oklahoma loses, maybe Venables is out at Oklahoma. Can you imagine all these jobs of these coaches that have gotten fired midseason?
I can't. It's like the NFL.
Like 50 million here or 40. I'm like, wow.
The biggest statement that was wild was Coach Saban's, right? And just talking about how it's changed and the NIL and then who's deciding who gets the money and how much money. And what if that group of people make the wrong decision? Then all of a sudden there's a coach you're out of a job. How crazy is that?
He made a really good comment today because in the NBA, I think somebody said that there was a G League player that now has committed to go play college basketball. So you're going to get a G League kid. So Saban said at some point in time, he's like, I could see, and he just used the Giants, a third-string quarterback for the Giants that holds the clipboard go back to college. He goes, that's the world that we may live in college football. And I don't doubt it. You never know.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Very well might be the case.
So, Coach, here's another one. I think this could be a good game. Matt Rule, whose name's being rumored for the Penn State job. Nebraska at home. They're 6-2. USC, Lincoln Riley again, offensive guy against Nebraska. Nebraska is getting 6.5 points at home. Can they beat USC?
So now last week, USC won.
Last week, USC won. Yep.
Because I watched a little bit of that game. Who they play? I remember watching that game a little bit.
They beat Michigan a couple of weeks ago. And Nebraska is one of those teams that's really hard to figure out because I really want to like Nebraska because I do like Matt Rule. But I feel like when it's a really big game, his record isn't that great against big teams either. And this is another one. He's got a big opportunity here. They're 6.5 dogs at home here against USC. You like the home team?
I'm going to go USC.
I'm with you. I'm going with USC. Right. I'm riding with a lot of offensive guys this week. I like these matchups for the offensive guys, but we got a couple here we might.
It's a game.
Yeah. This could be a really, really good game here. And I'm not sure about the line here. Nobody's talking about Cincinnati and the job that they've done this year. It's 7-1. They got a really good chance to win the Big 12. Utah's played really well. They're tough at home. They're a 9.5 point favorite at home against Cincinnati. I'm going to give you my pick first, just so you don't think I'm trying to even you out. I'm going to
say minus or
minus 9.5. So they're actually Utah's favored at home. I'm going with Cincinnati. I really like Cincinnati this year.
All right, there you go. This is a little different. I'm going to go Utah.
Okay, Utah's tough at home. They're tough at home, and he's a great coach. Kyle Whittingham's a great coach.
Yes, I think he's outstanding.
All right, and of course, we have to always pick the Syracuse game when they're playing. I just heard tonight saw it on Twitter. I do not think the quarterback is starting, so I think Syracuse is going with a different quarterback in this game. I think this game's Friday night. I think it's on Halloween. Who knows what the hell's going on with North Carolina, but Syracuse is actually a 1.5 point favorite at the Dome.
this game I'm going to go with the orange. I'm
You got to go with Syracuse.
And I get a
I don't know who.
much needed win with the new quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know who I like. Because North Carolina, even defensively, with Belichick and his son calling the plays, they haven't looked good at all. I really want to pick Syracuse, but we have who do we? Well, you liked Utah, so we got one different. I might be able to make up one on you. I'm going to roll with Syracuse. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to give you another chance. I'm going to roll with North Carolina.
This is. I think it's about the Cincinnati Utah. It's like how well does the team travel? Right? How well is Cincinnati going to travel and play in that hostile environment? Right. I think USC will travel well. Right. How well is going to the Dome is not an easy thing. And Syracuse is real, and they're hungry for a win. I know Coach Brown will get them fired up, and maybe the change of quarterback will give the team some spark for sure.
Well, I know one thing. There's a lot of these big jobs. They're mentioning Fran Brown for a candidate just because of his recruiting ties in the state of Florida. I've heard his name come up for the Florida job. I've heard it come up possibly for Florida State. And when you get on Twitter, you see all these names of these athletes in the transfer portal, and they're all linked to Syracuse, which is fantastic for him. So I think it's him and a couple of other guys on his staff are three of the best recruiters in the country.
Yeah, I went out there a few times. They have put together a great coaching staff, and that's a big part of the recruiting piece is that the kids want to play for those guys, for sure. So, I genuinely want to see them do well.
Well, Coach, listen, good luck Saturday. We'll be there. I'll be there on Saturday for the game, so I'm excited.
Nice.
I think the weather is supposed to hold off. It's supposed to rain on Friday night, but I saw just a little windy and cold on Saturday, so a typical fall day here in upstate New York.
I definitely want to wish our local teams in the playoffs well, and that they do well. And it's funny, if I start mentioning a few, I'm going to miss some, but I know New Hartford and Whitesboro are playing at home, I believe, in the next couple of nights, I believe. So, I've gotten to know, Coach Kramer well and Coach Schmidt, my neighbor, and wish those guys well, along with all the other teams that are playing in the playoffs. I think Frankfurt is doing really well again this year.
Yep.
So just want to see all our local teams do well.
Well, Coach, good luck, and look forward to talking with you again next week.
Thanks for the moves. Take it easy.
So that was Coach Blaise Faggiano, who, a lot of my buddies are messaging me on, Twitter and all this, saying you can't let Coach Faz beat you in picks. You're the guy that follows this stuff and talks about it, and Coach Faz has his own season to worry about. And here he is; he's one pick up on me, so I got to try to make up some ground here. But I love talking to Coach. I'm so happy that he let me do this with him throughout football season. We got a couple more weeks, hopefully 3 more weeks with him. Depending on the end of the year for him. Hopefully they're in the playoffs or playing in a bowl game. So I want to make sure I thank Coach, as always, for jumping on with me here on the Rock By. I want to thank everybody for following the show. The Mohawk Valley Sports Watch will return. I know a lot of people have asked me about some of the local stuff. I've been really busy with my own season that just finished up. We finished 5-1, so congratulations to my kids. And then we've been busy running around with my daughter to soccer on weekends, so I just have not had the time. But I promise you, the Mohawk Valley Sports Watch is not going anywhere. So I want to make sure I give my sister a special shout out for her Camden team last night, beating Whitesboro in overtime. Congratulations to both teams. Congratulations to Rome Free Academy Field Hockey. They stay unbeaten. They will play on Saturday morning. My sister plays Saturday afternoon. She's in the championship game of Class B against VVS, and Rome Free Academy is in the Class AA championship game against Baldwinsville, who I believe was the 2 seed. So congratulations to them. As Coach Faz mentioned, Coach Kramer in New Hartford is still going. Coach Schmidt at Whitesboro is still going. A lot of local teams still going. I don't want to forget to leave anybody out. Good luck to Coach DeCola and Rome Free Academy. They play tomorrow night, as most of these teams do, because Friday night's Halloween. I think they had the option whether or not they wanted to play Thursday or Friday. So I want to make sure I give Coach DeCola a shout out to the boys here, right here in the backyard at Rome Free Academy. They will travel to play CNS, who had a chance to beat CBA not too long ago. So it should be a really good game out there in Syracuse. So best of luck to Coach DeCola and the Black Knights. So on behalf of myself here on the Rock Pile, the Rock Pile is where dreams become reality. Have a good evening, everybody.